You check your bank account. Rent is paid. Groceries are bought. Bills are covered. So why does it feel like you're always one paycheck away from broke? Here's the uncomfortable truth. It's probably not your salary. It's not the economy either. It's 5 small habits so normal, so invisible that you don't even notice you're doing them. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which of these 5 habits is quietly draining your future and the simple fix for each one. Here's a wild stat. A recent Federal Reserve report found that more than a third of American adults couldn't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. That's not because people don't work hard. Most of them work harder than ever. It's because money doesn't disappear in one big moment. It leaks out in tiny repeated habits, the kind that feel harmless in the moment but cost you tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Today we're breaking down 5 of the most common ones. Stick around because habit number 3 is the one almost nobody realizes they're doing, including maybe you. The first habit is simple, not knowing where your money actually goes. Most people don't overspend on one big thing. They overspend on 10 small things they forget about. Let's meet Jake. Jake is 26, works in sales, and earns $52,000 a year. He pays his rent, his car payment, his phone bill. He thinks he's doing fine. But Jake has never once tracked his spending. Here's what Jake doesn't see. $6 coffee 4 times a week. 2 streaming subscriptions he forgot he signed up for. A $15 lunch almost every workday. None of it feels like much in the moment. Let's do the math. That coffee habit alone is about $96 a month. Add $30 in forgotten subscriptions and $225 in workday lunches he could have packed for half the price. That's roughly $350 a month, over $4,000 a year, leaking out in things Jake can't even name if you ask him. Here's why this happens. Psychologists call it invisible spending. Small purchases don't register as real money in our brains the way one large purchase does. Swiping a card for $6 feels like nothing, but your brain never adds up all the $6 swipes into one number, so you never feel the total. The fix isn't extreme budgeting or giving up coffee forever, it's simply tracking every dollar for 30 days. Once you can see the pattern, your brain automatically starts correcting it, because now the spending is visible. But tracking spending only fixes part of the problem, because even people who track their money still fall into habit number 2. And this one grows quietly every time you get a raise. Habit 2 is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the sneakiest wealth killers there is. Here's how it works. You get a raise. You feel like you deserve to upgrade something. A nicer apartment, a newer car, more takeout. It feels responsible. You earned more, so you're spending more. But your savings rate never actually improves. Meet Emily, a 30-year-old nurse. 3 years ago, she earned $58,000. Today, she earns $74,000, a solid $16,000 raise. But her savings account, still sitting at the same $1,200 it was 3 years ago. Every extra dollar went to a bigger apartment, a newer car lease, and nicer everyday purchases. Here's the math that stings. If Emily had simply saved half of that $16,000 raise, just half, and invested it at a 7% average annual return, in 25 years that alone would grow to roughly $43,000 on top of everything else she saves. Why does this happen? Social comparison. When your income rises, your sense of normal rises with it. What felt like a luxury last year quietly becomes the baseline this year, and you stop noticing it as a choice. The fix. Every time you get a raise, immediately move half of it into savings or investments before you ever see it in your checking account. You still get to enjoy the other half, guilt-free, while your future self quietly gets richer. Lifestyle inflation is sneaky because it feels like progress. Habit 3 is the opposite. It feels responsible, even smart. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Habit number 3, paying only the minimum payment on credit card debt. This one feels responsible. You're paying your bill on time every month like you're supposed to, but minimum payments are designed, quite deliberately, to keep you in debt as long as possible. Let's look at David, a 35-year-old contractor with $6,000 in credit card debt at a 22% interest rate, which, by the way, is close to the US average right now. If David only pays the minimum, usually around 2% of the balance, it would take him over 20 years to pay it off. And he'd pay more than $9,000 in interest alone. That means the $6,000 he borrowed actually costs him over $15,000 total. Here's the psychology behind why people fall into this trap. Minimum payments create an illusion of progress. You're doing something, so your brain relaxes even though the balance barely moves. The fix is called the debt avalanche method. List your debts by interest rate, throw every extra dollar at the highest rate debt first while paying minimums on the rest, then roll that payment into the next one once it's gone. If David added just $150 extra a month using this method, he'd be debt-free in under 3 years instead of 20, saving himself thousands in interest. Debt is loud. You feel it every month. But habit 4 is quiet. It doesn't cost you money directly, it costs you time, and time is the one thing you can never buy back. Habit 4, staying out of the stock market because it feels risky, unfamiliar, or not for people like me. This is one of the most expensive habits on this list, and it's rarely talked about because it looks like nothing is happening. No debt, no overspending, just money sitting still. Meet Sarah, 27, who has $10,000 saved in a regular savings account earning almost no interest. She's proud of that number, and she should be. Saving is hard. But she's scared of investing because she's heard the market can crash. Here's what fear is quietly costing her. If Sarah leaves that $10,000 in a savings account earning 1%, in 30 years it grows to about $13,500. If she instead invested in a simple diversified index fund averaging a historical 7% return, that same $10,000 grows to roughly $76,000 without adding another dollar. That gap over $62,000 isn't from working harder. It's the cost of fear multiplied by time. The psychology here is called loss aversion. Humans feel the pain of losing money about twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. So our brains protect us from risk, even when avoiding that risk is the actual riskier long-term choice. The fix isn't to gamble on individual stocks or try to time the market. It's starting small and boring, a low-cost index fund through a retirement account if your employer offers one, and letting time do the heavy lifting. You've made it through 4 habits. The 5th one is the most emotional of them all, because it's not really about money, it's about how we feel when we compare ourselves to everyone else. The 5th habit, spending to match a lifestyle you see online, not the one you actually live. This one hits differently because it's not really about the item, it's about the feeling. A new outfit after a bad day, a treat-yourself order after a stressful week, a same-day delivery because waiting felt unbearable. Add buy now, pay later into the mix, and it gets worse. It splits purchases into small payments that feel painless individually, but a recent study found the average buy now pay later user has multiple simultaneous loans running at once, often without tracking the total. Picture Mike, 24, who orders something online almost every time he's stressed or bored. Individually, each order feels small, $25 here, $40 there. Over a year, those small treats add up to roughly $3,000. Money he genuinely didn't feel like he was spending. The psychology is simple. Shopping triggers a small dopamine hit, the same reward chemical linked to other instant gratification habits. It's not weakness, it's brain chemistry meeting a world designed to trigger it constantly. The fix isn't to never enjoy anything, it's the 24-hour rule. For any non-essential purchase over $50, wait 24 hours before buying. Most of the emotional urge fades, and what's left is your actual decision, not your impulse. Let's bring it all together. Untracked spending leaks money you can't see. Lifestyle inflation quietly cancels out your raises. Minimum payments keep debt alive for decades. Fear of investing costs you decades of growth. And emotional spending trades your future for a feeling that fades in a day. Here's the good news. None of these habits require a bigger paycheck to fix. They just require awareness, and awareness is free. You don't need to fix all 5 today. Pick the one habit from this video that hit closest to home and work on just that one this month. If this video made you rethink even one habit, that's a win, and it means it's worth sharing with someone who needs to hear it too. Subscribe if you want more videos like this. Real, simple, no judgment finance content built for real life. And tell me in the comments, which of these 5 habits hit the hardest for you? I read every single one,